Hi students, this is a short video to describe the cooperation group project that you'll be working on with your small group over the course of several weeks and completing it by about exam time, the last week of classes. So let's take a look. I'm going to go to our Blackboard site, and you'll notice that there's a special link for the cooperation group project. You will be working on this group project with your small group that you've done all the other group assignments with. This group project is worth a total of 100 points. Actually, 80 points are in the group, and 20 points will be your individual final exam. That's a reflection about the group project and about others that you've looked at. So let's take a look at this project. This project, by the way, is in part a part of our class, because this class is an issues class, and one of the things that it demands is intensive group work. So I decided to choose a group project based on cooperation. So if you click on the group project instructions, you'll be able to see all of the instructions. Notice though that there are 3 parts to this group project. Part 1 is kind of an organization and planning part, due on Friday, April 9. Part 2 is the big presentation. It's going to be in Padlet form. That's due the last day of classes. And then you'll have to review and respond to other people's group projects for your final exam. So there'll be 2 or 3 short essay questions that you will be writing up after watching several of these group projects. So let's take a look at the instructions. Okay, we'll be working with cooperation. We'll be studying the evolution of cooperation in animals, some aspect of it. You and your group will develop a Padlet presentation to show people what you've discovered. And we have a series of ideas for what kinds of cooperative behavior could you study. Some of these ideas are things that we will study to some extent in lecture, but you could expand on them. For example, we are going to study reciprocal altruism. Well, you could learn more about it. You could learn about it in different species or in several species. Cooperative breeding is another area that we've touched on, or we will touch on, but we didn't spend a ton of time on it. So that would be an area where you might want to research. And I've got a list of ideas down at the bottom of this assignment. And you're going to make a Padlet presentation. And the presentation is, it can be arranged in any way, but I've got information about what to include in your presentation. I've also got an example here, and I based my example on material we've already covered on the fear module in terms of human instinct. So it's actually a Padlet that's a little more broad on instinct in general. So if I open that up, you can take a look at my Padlet. It's not super exciting in terms of, like, it's not wow, it's a linear Padlet. And I start by defining what instinct is. I talk about some of the types of instincts or some examples of instinct. Notice that I even have videos on my Padlet. You can make a video you can make a video of yourself at the beginning of the a Padlet that describes, hey, this is what we're going to try to cover in this Padlet. And if you scroll through I think I can scroll through here. Here we go. We can see that I have some pictures, I have some descriptions, I have another video here of little baby Albert, if you know who that is, if you remember who that is. I have information about humans and fear. Is fear an instinct? And the fear module. And I spend a lot of time talking about the fear module and giving evidence that there is a fear module in primates and in humans also. And so I report some of my evidence. Okay, and then I have at the very end a reference section, which should have at least 4 references. At least 4 references, and then I should have what are called annotations for 4 of those references. My annotation, if you look at it, is, you'll see this in the assignment as well, is an annotation about an article on Japanese macaques detecting snakes but not spiders very quickly. so you can take a look at that. So that is my whole Padlet, and you can see how you an individual could read and go through this Padlet in maybe 15 to 25 minutes, something like that. That's the length of the Padlet you're hoping to create. Now, in order to create a Padlet, it's going to take a little bit of effort. This is a platform you probably don't know that much about. There are some tutorials on how to create a Padlet. Also, you have to set the settings correctly. You want to set the privacy setting to public. All right, and you want to invite members of your group to become administrators so you can all work on the same Padlet. Finally, you have to share your link with me. When I give you an assignment to do, you have to share that link. So the first assignment, you are actually going to submit it as a Padlet link. I want to make sure that you get on Padlet and you know how to do it. And you will be, for your first assignment, basically, this is an organization assignment. Hey, figure out what you want to study. There are a couple of articles here that generally talk about cooperative behavior in animals that might give you some clues. Hey, this sounds really interesting to me. Create a plan for how you're going to complete the project. What was each individual going to do? Each individual then must find a scholarly research paper, right, a peer-reviewed research article on this topic. And this is a document that can help you find peer-reviewed research papers, but we've done that already in small groups a couple of times. And then you're going to write an annotation for your paper. Okay, the annotation can be about 200 words long, and it should be a summary that summarizes the basic questions the authors addressed, the approach they took, and their results, their conclusions. And then you need to have a sentence or two that critically evaluates the work and talks about how this paper could be useful in the context of our topic, whatever your topic is. Well, in my Padlet, I wrote about human fear, right? And is that an instinct or not? And my paper that I chose to look at was paper that we actually focused on in our lecture. And I wrote up my nice annotation. So this will give you an idea of how to write an annotation. And then for your first part of the assignment, you have to create a Padlet with the names of everyone in your group, your chosen topic, a short summary of why you chose this topic, and your plan. How are you going to organize so that you can get this puppy done? And each group member's reference and annotation. So you should have 4 annotations here if you have 4 people participating in your group. Later, you're going to modify this Padlet. You'll probably wipe out almost everything except the annotations. I want you to keep those at the end of your final Padlet. But you'll turn this in as a link, and I'll be able to view it. I'll be able to look at it, take a good look at the topic, make sure I understand the extent to which what you want to study and the extent to which you want to study it. And then I'll give you the okay, and you'll be good to go for part 2. For part 2, you're going to do a deep dive into the topic you chose. And when you dive in, you'll then create a Padlet that explains your topic, right? What to include in your Padlet presentation? Well, you're going to need a title, an introduction section. This is a good place to put a video. You could video one of you talking about what your topic is. Why are you interested in this topic? What do you plan to cover? That's a nice place to do a video. Background information. So tell us, if you're talking about, I think I've given you an example here. If you plan to investigate alarm calling in Belding ground squirrels, you will need to probably define altruistic behavior and maybe kin selection if you're going to focus on those as possible mechanisms for why these animals are making calls, right? You need a body of material. So here's where you're going to present some of the research that's been done that supports hypotheses or supports alternative hypotheses, etc. Make some conclusions. And in your literature cited section, you'll have at least 4 research articles. Anything else that you use, so if you use videos or something like that, you can have a link for those, a citation for those, and you will have your annotations after that. Then you'll submit this. This is due on the last day of classes. You'll submit the Padlet link to the Blackboard site. I will compile them all, and then for part 3, I will be asking you to review 2 of the other Padlets and to write up some sort of reflection or response on other people's work, and possibly a reflection on yours as well. That's not set up yet. I don't have that assignment ready to go. So ideas for your project. Here are a number of different ideas that might interest you. Some of them are kind of broad. You can choose a specific species to work with or a group of animals to work with. You can talk about eusociality in mammals in general and look at the species of mammals that have eusociality and how this could have evolved in these species. You can look at mechanisms of cooperation, if the hormonal, the nervous material, the nervous system, that material kind of interested you. You could focus on, types of cooperation like cooperative breeding or cooperative hunting, all sorts of good stuff here. And you get to choose your topic as a group. Okay. All right, I think that's everything. What you'll want to do first then is get together, chat, talk about what you possibly are interested in and what could compose a Padlet presentation, and then you'll want to get started doing some research. And you'll probably have to coordinate with each other to sort out if your articles are relevant to each other too. Okay? Yeah. All right, I think that's everything. Thanks so much.